web administrator gave me the income, because after several tests, everything was fine. But when we start to stream, okay, I see it goes now. Yes. Okay. Hello, everybody. That's really great to have you here again with us after short 3 days break. We start the second part of the Audio Art Festival. The Audio Art Festival has been initiated, in 1993. So when we count as an annual event, we should get the number 28. That's true. 28th edition of Audio Art Festival going on now online, which is quite clear. I don't need to explain why. In fact, internally we have different layers. So there are still two venues attached and connected with the festival: Hevre in Kazimierz and Academy of Music in Kraków. But we are in a multi-space locations now. Joanna is in her studio in Berlin. I'm in my house in a festival office. Behind me there's a poster and there's a small local jungle. Konrad, my friend, is in Busko. So, and Veronika is in Kraków. Yes, Veronika?
No, I'm actually from Bulgaria.
So you are in Sofia.
Yeah, I'm in Sofia. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So greetings to Sofia. So as you see, multi-place idea in pandemic times is a very common story. So let's start. This is a great story with Joanna, because Joanna was in Kraków several years ago running the Erasmus program. She was a student of intermediate department, and also cooperating with other departments in the Fine Arts Academy in Kraków. But as a result, she designed a beautiful installation which was presented in Bunkier Sztuki. When you are interested, you can go there backwards to the former Audio Art Festival. It's very easy to Google it and to find it out. The large disc rotating and playing a sound animation, let's say, concept with her own very detailed drawing, which were translated to sound, also with the interaction with the people. So now we have Joanna with another project, originally born in Timisoara, spending some time in different locations, but her new house.
Mm.
Marek, we lost you. Am I online? Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear, but I cannot hear Marek.
Okay, well, I guess I will have to go on presenting myself. Yeah, so basically I met Marek in Krakow and I was his student. And he was the first person that introduced me more or less to sound art. So after that, I developed my career for years already. And today I will present one of my current projects, one of them, which is a project that I already started maybe 3 years ago initially. And it's a performance project actually, but not necessarily. It also includes instruments and other things. So I think I'm not sure if I should start sharing my screen or wait for Marek. Um, but yeah, Marek. Okay. Yeah, I guess we just continue because I don't know what happened there. So I will share my screen.
For how long have you been living in Berlin?
For 4 or 5 years already.
Oh, really?
Yes, and yeah, I live in an artist community, and yeah, I travel back and forth to Romania and Berlin all the time, but not this year because of Corona. It was a bit bizarre situation. But
yeah. When we met, you were based in Romania, I think.
Yes, yes. I'm still, I mean, I'm in between. I'm not based. This year, I can say I was really based in Berlin because I got stuck in Berlin
Okay.
with Corona. But usually, yes, I was always back and forth. So this was really nice. And at some point, I was back and forth in between Krakow, Romania, and
Mm.
yeah. And I did the project also, like I was participating in this Playrec and the Audiomat and the conferences from the Music Academy. Yeah, we have Marek back.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. I told you that sometimes I will be leaving, so don't worry about.
Okay.
But since I'm a host, I don't think that we were streaming part of your lecture. So the big request would be to repeat in a brief way, even since the beginning. I can say in a very unprofessional way, I don't know what happened, but perhaps there's a problem with different lines we have in a house, and for me, we are operating on the second floor now on the first level, first time building up this office, and it happens yesterday. Similar thing, even that we have a cable connection, so it shouldn't happen. Okay, let's go.
Okay, so I will start sharing my screen.
Uh-huh.
Oh, can I share it? Yes.
Let me check because it seems to be really strange at the moment.
Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes, I see your screen.
Is it pink?
Yeah, that's great. It's pink, yes. We have color. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, then I will also stop my video so I enhance the quality of the sharing. Okay, so this is Coqueta, is a project that I started around 3 years ago. It's a performance installative project that keeps going on and keeps transforming every year in a new edition and every month in a new instrument. So I think I'm gonna just show a super short trailer of it. Okay, so these are some sequences from the videos I took the last years, kind of a review of what Coqueta was or what it still is. And to begin with, how it all started. I think 3 years ago, no, 2018, I found this cosmetic box on the street in Berlin because people throw a lot of things in Berlin, useful things, and I'm always fascinated about this. So I collect a lot of things. All my furniture is from the streets and a lot of electronics as well. And I found this beauty box, and I was really like, oh wow, you know, it's great to actually build an instrument inside. So I started building a little filter and some kind of oscillators inside, and it became the first Coqueta box. Here we can see like more of these instruments, and then I realized like, well, it's kind of symbolic for my childhood and the way I grew up, because I was a ballerina. I danced for 10 years classical ballet and on the main stage in Timișoara. So I grew up in this very theatrical world with a lot of velvet and costumes and makeup and everything. And I was wearing wigs and I had pink dresses, and I was a very, very feminine girl my whole childhood, like to the complete extreme. So then I thought of building maybe instruments that would be in this kind of aroma of a bizarre feminine world. And I started recycling and building them from what I could find initially. So this is another box I found on the street, and then I connected, for instance, a telephone cable from another phone I found on the street, and the circuits are from parts I recycle because I receive a lot of old circuit boards. So for instance, this became the mixer box of the project. So I was mixing my audio signal in this box. And then I designed a simple purse, which would have a little sequencer and a little like oscillator part. And I was thinking like, oh yes, this is the Coqueta to go kit that you can go on your street and make a little concert with the synthesizer. And then I realized that actually what I'm the most interested is cosmetics and beauty, because I was so influenced of this whole world of the stage, and also because as a young girl I was using a lot of makeup, so I was really, let's say, kind of in between traumatized of this whole beauty thing, but also I don't know, I just wanted to make a project that would reflect about it. So kind of, so then to go a little bit in this history of Coqueta and how I started looking, I will have to definitely go a bit in the history of makeup, tiny bit. So makeup is one of the earliest, actually not makeup, because the word makeup comes later, but cosmetics is one of the earliest human rituals. So it happened from the ancient world, even earlier. Humans were using cosmetics for ritualic purposes, but also for protection. So for instance, in Egypt, they would use charcoal, coal, black powder to create this kind of eyeline, typical, very classic eyeline, which actually included arsenic. And so it was half poisoning, but it would also keep them from infections. So it's kind of a medicinal poisonous thing. Then, of course, my main focus was to look also on this negative side of cosmetics. So, and if we go in England, a very famous case with Elizabeth I, she was using, she started using actually lead as a white powder to cover her face, to give herself a more kind of very angelic look, to say. don't know what is happening, but somebody's typing very, very hard. Okay, so she created this new trend in which the nobility would wear white makeup to show and display this idea that they would never have to work. So, for instance, people that the peasants that would work around the castle, they would have their skin tanned by the sun. But nobility would like to express even harder this idea that their privilege, that they would have to stay inside and they didn't have to do anything. So their skin would stay white because they would only stay indoors. And this was a beauty project that was kept for many centuries, actually. So we have till the Victorian age where arsenic is used again. So like a very toxic compound, because also this lead powder was extremely toxic. So poor Elizabeth I, she ended up dying because of it. And in the Victorian age, we come back to the same idea of like the white privileged nobility staying indoors. So people would paint themselves white and paint even the veins as if like a cadaveric look, more or less. So this was considered very sexy and very, I don't know, opulent, let's say, like that. But actually the cosmetics behind were horrifying, yes, because people would use arsenic on their body. And it was not even known that it's toxic. So you see ads where it's written, keep young and attractive. Dr. Campbell safe arsenic complexion wafers. So it was promoted as a safe thing for women. Of course, this changed very much afterwards. Because at this time makeup didn't exist yet, so it was a bad habit to wear lipstick or such thing. This all changed when Hollywood appeared and silent movies appeared, and this guy Max Factor was one of the first promoters of cosmetics, and actually he's the inventor of the word makeup. So he invented the word, and he pioneered this idea that cosmetics can be consumed by every woman all the time. Yeah. So he's a Polish refugee, actually. So, and he ended up building a whole company, like a very strong concept about cosmetics. And here is one of his emblematic inventions that blew me away. It's called the Beauty Micrometer. And what it does, it's actually quite horrifying because it's an instrument to measure imperfections. So you would put it on the face and you would measure a woman's imperfection, and then you would come up with the proper solution to remediate that with makeup. So it's an instrument of makeup, but for, yeah. And here we see different shots. It actually, this movie, The Clockwork Orange, it was inspired by the Beauty Micrometer when they made props for the classical scene. And then I was very interested in all this kind of horror machines. So the horror beauty machines. So there's a lot of them during the 20th century. Because this is the century where makeup actually became really prominent, so mediated. So, and we have the Glamour bonnet, a vacuum that would suck your face in vacuum. We have a dimple machine that would just press your skin and make holes in it. We have the classical hair dryers, so the first hair dryers, which look a little bit like sci-fi movie things. We have scalp massages, and these are, so there were a lot of experimental beauty treatments, which were definitely not all of them very good. But this practice goes on till today, because actually it's not a big difference from the times where people were applying lead on their faces. Makeup is still very, very toxic. So women inject Botox today, and Botox is a toxin. which paralyzes your face. And I'm pretty sure that in few centuries we will look back to this practice with the same vision, like, okay, what is this? How could people do this? You know? So now, as a good side of cosmetics, actually, the whole thing with cosmetic was a really good gateway for women to enter business and to enter few other domains, because it was a gap. So if there was free space for women to come in and fill it, and this we have Madame C.J. Walker, who was actually the first female millionaire, and she made her fortune on a special hair grower, which was for of course pointed to the African American community that was completely undercovered in terms of cosmetics. So there was nothing available. And she decided to build all her branding on this idea, but also to fight in social justice. So all of her business and her ideas were about this. And I found it very beautiful that, yeah, in a way, like all this cosmetics enabled a lot of women to enter and to become part of the business. And then later we have also Helene Rubinstein, who's from Krakow, actually, talking of Krakow. And she is also, this is much later, this is in the 30s. So she opens up the first beauty salon, the Glamour Salon, which also looked a bit like a spa of horrors, actually, because we have this all these treatments, experimental treatments going on. So like, for instance, this is another machine where you could look and identify very precisely where the imperfections of the face were. And of course, UV light was already used. So this whole trend with the white skin cadaveric thing disappeared in America after Hollywood. So we have tan became quite a trend, and yeah, her line of cosmetics. Of course, Helena Rubinstein and Elizabeth Arden, they are still very big brands now of cosmetics, but they were the first also big women pioneers in terms of makeup. And now actually the way why they became and why they had room to do it was also because of the Second World War, because most of men were involved in war businesses. So there were certain domains where women took the lead. And one of them was cosmetics, and the other one was computing. So we have these human computers, how they call them, or sometimes the refrigerator ladies, which were the first coders, the first programmers. So yeah, Kay McNulty, Betty Jennings, Betty Snyder, Marlene Metzler, Fran Biles, and Ruth Lichterman are some of the first programmers, and they were working on ENIAC, the biggest first computer built. And back then, programming was considered as something very easy to do. So that's why somehow it could be a job for a woman. And of course, they were never credited. Back then, they were considered as the refrigerator ladies, because in all the pictures you could see these women, but you didn't know what they were. So they thought they just posed there, like they are hired models to represent the ENIAC computer. But actually, no, they were the real programmers. Yeah. And then we have Annie Easley later on, who's she helped win the space race. So she was a brilliant engineer, and we have mathematicians, and mainly all the computing part in NASA was done by women, which was quite something for that time. So you can say there was a lot of room for that. But this changed during the 60s. and it changed very gradually. And somehow computing and engineering especially became a very masculine field, as you know, and as it stays till today, actually. And this is a very good example of the 80s. It's a Yugoslav magazine where again women appears next to a computer, but this time really as a refrigerator lady. And we see this bizarre series of magazines where yes, women are represented very sexualized next to computers. And so it's yeah, I will just play also this up.
Now, a computer for women, how did the idea come about?
I had the idea in a dream originally, and then the next night I dreamt about it again. Then I probably had the same dream for the next 40 or 50 nights, and I thought, yes, I'll do that.
And that became the Petticoat 5?
Yes, the Petticoat 5. It's a computer made by women for women.
So, let's take a look at it. Now, the first thing you notice is the shape of the keys.
That's right. They're designed to make it easier to type with long nails.
Oh, that is a good idea. And what is this?
Well, that's a place to put your rings.
Ah.
And on the side here, we have a tissue dispenser. And over here is a vanity mirror which pops up when you press this button. And the space bar is an emery board.
So, I suppose you could fix your makeup while you work?
Well, yes, you could.
Yeah, so as we see, this is kind of an example of how it's turned. If women were the first computer programmers, it's clearly like it's changed very rapidly. Okay, so what do we do with this Barbie new image that was created? No, because actually after the 60s.
Joanna, I have sorry to interrupt you. I have a small request. Since I've got the crash on my computer on the beginning of your lecture, you became an administrator of the Zoom session, and I lost a few functions. I'm now the client, not the administrator. So I have a small request to push record button. So then it will record your part of your lecture also in Zoom. Okay, if you can push.
How? Where?
You should have on the bottom line. You should have a record button.
Oh God, I don't see.
No, don't worry. If we cannot make it, it's not a problem. But maybe that's easy. Or you should have 3 dots. If you
more, yes. Top line.
Yeah, so you should have this record function.
Okay.
Okay, you did it. Okay, thank you very much. Keep going. Thank you. Bye bye.
Recording. Yes. Okay.
I'm online still here.
Okay. Okay, so we reached to Barbie. Yes, Barbie, the sister of Coqueta. So, of course, Barbie has a very personal side to me because I was a very big Barbie fan, and I had a lot of Barbies, and I wanted to become a Barbie. And then I will just show what happened after Barbie. So this is the Freedom Trash Can. It's a part of the feminist revolution. So we have women that decide to fight against makeup and against this whole transforming women as objects. Yeah. So they organized the protest during the beauty pageant Miss America, in which they brought their bras and their cosmetics and threw them into a trash can. And back then, of course, it was a very big event and very mediatized. But the truth is that these events are kind of cyclic, because although women emancipated then, we are living today in the same historical moment where women need to emancipate again for very basic rights. And of course, I don't need to say what, because we all know what is also happening in Poland. and in America, and yeah. Anyways, coming back to the cosmetics, this is 2018, South Korea, which became the capital of beauty, had a feminist backlash too, because in South Korea, beauty is a very, very big industry, and especially plastic surgery. So every third woman in South Korea has a plastic surgery. This is a huge amount of women. And I was in South Korea when I did this project, actually, the first time. So it's really incredible to see the scale of this whole industry. So how many shops and what it means there to have a standard, beautiful look. So what I really liked was that in the 2018, after I left, there was this Escape the Corset movement where South Korean women just threw their makeup and they smashed it and created this kind of beautiful Pollock style compositions with it, and as a manifest. Now, what is even more bizarre is that in 2020, we have this practice of smashing makeup as a relaxing practice. So you can look on YouTube at people smashing their makeup in an ASMR way and get relaxed by it. So I'm gonna give some of these examples. So we can go through it and see different lipsticks being crushed and relaxed by the sound of it. Foundation pads, crunch, cream. Powder crushed. All almost like a ballet. It's almost like a dance or like a sound sculpture. And these are not meant to be like video art or artworks. They're just meant to relax. So I found it tremendously interesting how a movement of protest becomes transformed in the end into a commodity. So, and I'm gonna show another one, which displays actually a makeup dinner. yeah, so we see that the pads become a delicatesse, beautiful sight with all the makeup. And this is a South Korean actually lady who's doing. So these were kind of the things that I was interested in when I built Coqueta. And then I kind of built around them a character, which is this Coqueta. And it became over the time my alter ego. And she's a bit like a destructive diva. So she wears a lot of makeup. She's very slightly vulgar, but not really. She's sensual, and she puts on her makeup in a performance, but actually she kind of enters in a trance and puts too much and destroys herself. So ends up with her face filled with makeup. So to do that, actually, I was looking initially at the patents of these instruments for beauty. Yeah? So the eyelash curler, actually, which is this kind of brush. And I ended up taking all these patents and making simple applicators that I can connect to my instruments. So I created a little comb with a microphone inside. I made pads for makeup with pressure sensors. I did some inductive brushes. The eyelash curler becomes a switch. The lipstick has a pressure resistor. So each time I press it, I can make sounds with it. My eyeshadows are motors. So I can pick the sounds of their motors when they spin and they rotate, and I make different sounds. These were, for instance, some of the instruments that I developed initially, and they're not used anymore because I develop a lot every year. So I had perfume, I had a lot of other instruments that now are kind of abandoned, and these are some of the abandoned, and they are stereophonic electret microphones with kabuki brushes. So you can listen to the blush and listen to the way you apply it to your face. And I'm gonna give some example of the electronic applicators that I use now. So we see the switch. It is the eyelash curler. The foundation pad. Basically, what I wanted to do when I built these instruments was looking through these historical facts about makeup and the whole background. I developed for each of these steps of makeup, so for instance, for foundation, a sound that would kind of enhance the history of the item. So when you think about foundation and you think about these white lead powders that women cover their faces with, I wanted to have a very, very rough kind of noise that would enhance a bit this kind of idea of toxicity. The blush powder. And the white powder. The simple hairbrush. and the electronic lipstick. So these are some of the instruments and how they sound. Then I'm engaged very much with electronics and engineering actually since quite some years. So I work a lot with hardware. I don't do software at all. I don't code, but I design circuits and I work with pure analog circuits mostly. So these are some of the instruments where I could plug these applicators, these makeup applicators, and they are electric stilettos. Some of them have oscillators, LFOs, or this is a filter. Actually, this one is designed by a friend of mine, God's Box. So I used his module, put it in the shoe, and they work with a modular. It's basically a modular system, but not a Euro rack, but a Barbie rack. So everything is a bit different. But I work with, let's say, CV protocol exchange. So I send voltages from my makeup devices to activate the circuits that kind of change their sound in the same time that I change my face with makeup. So it is kind of a synesthetic relation between the circuitry and my face, more or less, during the performance. So yeah, here we see the patent for lipstick, which inspired me to build the electronic lipstick. That is built actually from trash. So this is an old cable from the phone. This is a can of shoe cream that comes from my hometown, Timișoara. So this is a big, very famous factory of shoes. And yeah, I just combined and I made this little gizmo, which became the electronic lipstick. That is the most fancy part of my performance. And when I built the sound, I really wanted it to sound like a dental drill. So you're at the dentist and it comes this very high-pitched texture that scares you very deeply. And that's how I designed the electronic lipstick as a dental. So here we can see more cosmetics. During the performance, the electronics kind of merge with the pigments. Everything gets very full of cosmetics, so it takes me sometimes 1.5 hours to clean. This is one of the early setups. So this is actually in 2018, where I would put all these instruments I built on a large table and create a beauty salon, and then I would apply makeup there for 1 hour and create different sounds. This would mean that I had a lot of things and it was a bit of an overcomplicated thing. So my dream was to create this ambulant beauty salon that could all close inside a suitcase, and I would go on the stage, open it, and have this perfect salon ready to go where I can apply makeup and make noise. So I did this year because I had a lot of time because of the pandemic. So I just stayed in house and I crafted it from wood. And I found an old suitcase and I could build it. So this is the new beauty salon, and currently I'm using it. This was this year in Poznan, where I performed during Hotel Europa. Basically, these are some pictures from performing during the quarantine. You can see I apply a lot of makeup and I go over abundantly. So it isn't a statement against or pro makeup. It is just kind of a character manifesting itself. And then this year I also built a Bro synthesizer, which I did together with my partner, and he designed the circuits, Dorian Largen. And we made this kind of Titstronics wavetable oscillator that can create very beautiful harmonical frequencies in relation to each other. And this will be actually presented live maybe during the performance. And this is just a hint to show what I've been doing. And just to finish it, I will play short video that you can find in the Audiomat release that Marek made. No, this is the lipstick solo. Yeah, so here you see I play my lipstick like a electric guitar solo, so kind of.
The album is already released, and but you know the problem is that the Audiomat is blocked at Bunker Sztuki. But the album is available for the artists of the Audio Art Festival, and it's still on the website of the Audiomat since yesterday. So we are in charge of this. Just as a small remark, because you mentioned about that this particular short fragment is on our new Audiomat enhanced audio CD in a video form.
Okay. Do you see my face now, right?
Yes.
No more
Yes.
screen. Okay.
You see my face now?
Yes.
Okay. So here we are. We are together.
Okay. It wasn't so bad to talk online. It's a bit.
No, that was really amazing. That was really perfect, because this is essential art from the mainstream of sonic art, sound art, the design of new resources which are visual, but also they are like a sound object, sound sculptures. And so much connected with the body, with the person. So it's so personal. So that's another aspect extremely important in this art arrangement. That this is very personal since the very beginning when you are designing something, and that's the aspect of personal by your body aspect is also extremely great, because it comes also from the background of performance art, the performative life arts as well, and then it becomes very peculiar in a way.
I mean, I don't know what, because a lot of people put it in the sound art, but it's not a sound performance only, you know. It's almost like a theatrical show I do, and that's why I always emphasize that the visual side is also very important, actually, because I build these instruments and they're part of the show. Maybe sometimes the sounds are not, it's not a full composition that you listen to it and with closed eyes, you know, you have to keep your eyes open.
Well, you know, even I'm spelling those terms, I'm not really a big fan of making this strict classes and specification, because that's what is typical also for audio art since the beginning, that is very individual and very personal. So this is the difference with this channelized, organized around certain institution system art activities. So this is much more individual, much more independent, much more personal. So it needs, I think, by my opinion, it needs a special and particular description, and it's much more clear than to put it somewhere else, you know, to explain what it is, where it is audiovisual, or this is intermedia. Well, intermedia is also a very correct term, I guess. How we are using this and how wide is the reference. So that's also quite important. It's changing also on the academic level. So in fact, you are part of this now because you are part of the audio art conference. So there are a series of lectures at the same time, you know, at noon, and we can also later on you have the list. So that's also a very nice reference and the relation between them. But I love those very personal and short, you know, distance and concept, which comes in your like MSSR, you know, concept, you know, very soft and very close. So those lipsticks and touching and stretching a little bit, going to the more personal, more micro scale, amplified, and that's really amazing in this part. So we have well, you know, I made a very big mistake. On Thursday, I have no class. So, in fact, I will expect my students tomorrow. But of course, they get all informed about all those events. And then after this expectation, my computer crashed. So that was like a very special coincidence. And then the Zoom automatically declared the administrator to you because you are the second person showing up on the Zoom, so you've got the function of administrator. That's why I ask you to start recording, to have the second video recording goes in Zoom, because we have all those streams recorded, so that's no problem. So is it do we start the section of the questions?
Well, you're my guest.
So I already made some comments. Veronica and Konrad, are you with us?
Yes, yes. I actually would like to ask a question.
Okay.
Because yeah, it's really interesting project.
Is it difficult for you to show up your face, or you don't?
My camera is not working. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just I'm on my old computer and it's really old, and the camera just stopped. Yeah, sorry about that.
Go ahead. Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's really cool project. I to be honest, I wasn't sure what I'm expecting. I just follow the festival in Facebook and I show the notification and I just click OK Zoom and I just pop in here. It was super interesting. It's really cool subject that you chose, and in with the really good background, like of the research you did. It was really interesting to me. And you mentioned a lot of aspects of the makeup, like how it could be something really destroyable, but at the same time it could be a creative thing, like to make yourself beautiful. And I was just wondering, what is the makeup for you? Like, how do you see it for yourself?
Well, I have a very ambivalent relation to it, because I think maybe that's also one of the reasons why I decided to do a project about it, because I really loved makeup. Actually, I loved doing my makeup, and I used it a lot. Now not, but when I was a teenager, it was very important for me. But at the same time, I really hate it. So it's kind of in between. I think, I try to see it from a kind of a context point of view, because I grew up in this generation of 2000 post-communist kids. So I was born in the 90s, and I grew up with exactly when the capitalism hit Romania, and probably you are in the same generation. And it was very breathtaking, because all of a suddenly, when I was a young girl, there were Barbies and there were all these like products that our mothers never had. And they decided to buy a lot, and to over spoil us basically with things that they could never have. And because of that, I think my generation of more like Eastern European girls were very, very influenced by this very Western beauty ideals, So I was watching MTV, and I would want to be like Madonna, and I wanted to be like Shakira, and I wanted all these things very, very much. And I think till today, I still suffer of this. I mean, that's why I don't really, I think, yeah, I can't say I hate makeup, but I definitely don't empathize with it. And I definitely don't wear so much. I mean, I'm not, I still like to use it as a kind of a mask, like to build a character. So that's my main relation.
Okay. That's really interesting.
I don't know. I think, yeah, it was something maybe now, the sad story is that now it kind of comes back to this idea, because at some point women started to reflect, and there was a whole movement in society against it. And what I'm afraid is that it always, I mean, it shouldn't be against it, because the idea of painting your face is nothing bad, it can be used in many ways. It's like, it can be a ritualic thing, you can, but when it becomes a product, and when it becomes instrumentalized by a capitalistic ideology, like the lipsticks, for instance, because the lipstick became a symbol of this whole, I don't know, neoliberal industry. And then it's sad, so it's a very fine line of where do you position yourself, I'm not, a lot of people say, well, you're a feminist. I don't know, I'm kind of, I don't want to put badge of what I am. I just try to make a project where I reflect on this issue from a very, I don't know, in a more sensorial way. So I try to give an experience to people about how it feels to interact with this cosmetic toxicity / societal toxicity versus really like chemical toxicity. I don't know.
Great, thank you. And just one more funny question: do you like smashing makeup?
I love it, but I don't have so much.
Yeah, at the video it was really cool. To be honest, I'm now interesting to play some for myself.
Yeah. I discovered it actually one day ago, and I was really blown away. I didn't know that there is even this on ASMR. Like people do it, even this.
Yeah.
Like, wow, this is so underground. It's a very specific thing. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a quite interesting aspect to join those women object typical, for the women fashions, like putting the electronics to the boots, to the high wheel boots, and of course use the pink color, which is quite direct in a way. I think that you can use different shadows of pink than to get a bigger variety, like different shadows of white in Inuit and Eskimo culture. So that I was remarking this several times, especially when it appears like a pink, So the pink is it can be magenta, it can be different shapes. But coming back to the point of the electronics, because I think this is a great. I don't know whether you know Benoit Maubret. the Canadian artist living for a long time in Berlin, but then he bought a firm, a big field in Beitz, in 60 kilometers down from Berlin to the south. And he's famous sound artist, created the concept of audio ballerinas. So the dancers have skirts from plastic, from plexiglass with electronics, and they are self-supplied. So all those electronics is without cables, that's the batteries and all these things, and that's designed from 80s, you know. So in fact,
I know the work actually.
Yeah, the group of them were moving to different markets, you know, cleaning spaces, you know, buying, wearing as a monkeys, you know. So they were also acting like some other groups of people that all the time making sounds from the movement. So they were like kinetic, but there were a lot of this kind of elements from different fashions, you know, from different fancy stuff. So they appeared in a new Mercedes saloon, you know, to open it as an extra ornament, you know, the living puppets, dancing puppets around. And I love this element because this is also and the relation to the social, political, you know, culture element is extremely important in our time. So that's really great to point out with the whole history of this, also to show us the elements of this. Because,
yeah, I mean, of course you can go, you know, there's many things you can show because it's a huge, you know. Now I was selecting like what should I show, because of course the history of cosmetics and combined with the history of women in engineering and sound and all this, it's huge, you know. So there's a big topic to talk about, but yeah, then you have to kind of trim and see, you know, what can be more on the topic. Because
I have one more question, Jana, because when you were in Krakow, you were just starting the electronics. We were dealing with something. I remember you bought a series of cork modules.
yes, they're all destroyed.
Yeah, okay. Then you start your own exploration. You start to build by yourself, which is also not typical. I don't want to say that it's not typical for women because I don't want to do it, you know. Like, but statistically, yes. Statistically, it's another point. So it's also great to see that you are kind of independent with that. Because that different project. One is to use ready-made products and then to extend them, even with circuit bending, when you are just, even without knowledge what is inside, you are just making the experiments, you are burning out some electronics. But I think this is more controlled idea that you are dealing with. You show us the diagram, so that's also cool, because this is another field, in fact. And in most cases, those guys who are dealing with the iron, soldering iron and the schematics, in general, they're like technicians, you know, and they help us to fix our electronic devices, home stay devices, or they are called when we need to do something. But the artist who are dealing this by himself, it's a very important element in our discussion about art activity. So this kind of independence is an extremely important issue, by my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's also one of the reasons why I showed this history, like a very short information about the history of computing, was exactly to point that, you know, this is now an exclusive, not an exclusive, but is mainly a male domain, but it wasn't. At the beginning, it wasn't. Computing was nearly pioneered by women. But then it fell down, you know, so you see like this kind of magazine, strange stuff with the sexy woman next to the computer. But at the beginning, no, you know, the women were the ones who wrote the first programs. And I try to emphasize this in my lectures because, you know, some people really think that, you know, hacker, like the image of the hacker is this like I mean, not here so much, but in the east, you know, is even less information in Romania. When I go there, when I have to deal with technicians, or I have to, you know, go to the electronic shop, just a simple thing. I go to the electronic shop to buy components. It's a whole story, you know, there, because I have like all these old guys coming. So what do? You do a little project, like why? And I know very specific what I want, you know, and I know, or, you know, I do the PCB boards there, and they always say, well, no, we have to look, but no, this cannot work. This cannot work. And I'm like, hey, come on, trust me, you know, I designed since years. So it's kind of a strange interaction still, you know, it's a very, yeah, I don't feel uncomfortable at all, but that's also because I really don't, I'm not bothered, you know, but I try to push a lot in this kind of educational field. So I make workshops a lot in Romania and everywhere. I mean, now I can't, but I used to do for girls, for like, you know, to kind of teach this idea that you can learn engineering. I mean, it's not a difficult thing, you know. And I also don't approach it from a very technical point of view. I studied drawing, you know, so I draw these diagrams, and I learn intuitively through books, through YouTube tutorials, you know, through whatever, Nicholas Collins, handmade electronic music, through whatever I find, you know. And I don't think it's, you know, now with the internet, you have so many resources that you don't need anything. You just need a soldering iron. And that's all.
It's easy to be self-built, self-taught person. Yes, using the everything which is online. Yes, of course, following the tutorials and all those helps. That's really great.
Yeah.
And so you are in your lab at the moment. The
Yeah,
concept.
you see actually the coqueta set up there.
This is coquette, and the concept will go also from the same place. Yes.
Yes.
So this is just also a very important announcement. The concert of Joanna is on Saturday at 8 o'clock. We have 2 blocks on a Saturday as a concert idea at 6 o'clock and then at 8 o'clock. I don't mention where they are because it's not anymore important now. We are putting the time schedule, which is the only important schedule at the moment. So we have 3 events on Saturday. The first event at 8 o'clock will be opened by Joanna with a project with the same title. So please join us. We have some other events in between. So the lecture line is the same time at 12 o'clock. Tomorrow, Ania Karpowicz. On Saturday, Kuba Janicki, but also extra lecture inside Pandemic Media Space Project, the lecture by Arthur Lees. We know him very well. He has a lecture at 4 o'clock. Then on Sunday we have a lecture by Maya Verlaak, Belgian composer living in Hague, in Netherlands, and that's the horizontal surface of education, the ODAT conference. But today we have a long night, long evening, starting from 6. We start at 6 o'clock. Group Lab invites, then the electroacoustic marathon. SME, and then the extra event like Siren songs, also part of the women's strike activity in form of the art event this evening at 9 o'clock. And then we have what I decided yesterday together with my friends. We just released a new double album of Polish Society for Electroacoustic Music with many pieces, and we decided that we will promote the album, and we play the whole album, 2 discs. So that's how we stay to the deep night today. So please join us. Thank you very much, Joanna, to be with us. It's very pity that you were that during this pandemic turn, we couldn't decide to get Joanna here to Krakow because that was in fact our main plan, and we dreamed to do it. But Flixbus and the connection between Berlin and Krakow is quite tricky now and really unclear. So we had to decide to not doing this for safety reasons, of course. Thanks a lot, Joanna.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm very happy that everything happened correct. Only my break, you know. From your side, you even became administrator. So,
So I have to do something.
so you should stop recording first.
Okay.
No. One moment.
Oh, Konrad, do you have a
Joanna,
question?
can you stay on? No, can you stay on Facebook? Can I ask you for some materials? Can we connect with Facebook in a moment after the meeting?
Wait, I stopped recording. Should I start?
You can also stop streaming. You have this. Wait a minute, maybe I can do it, but
Stop live stream.
no, I cannot do it. You are administrator, so live. You click and then you stop.
Okay.
Stop streaming.